Hi! Hello everybody. I wanted to do a fall TBR showing you all the books that I plan on reading for fall, and that's what I planning, not going to, or what? I plan to do that. Wait, not guaranteed. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh wait, I won't put that. I just thought of another book I could include, but you don't care that much. I feel like most of the time during fall I think about mysteries or thrillers or fantasy. So a lot of these books are like thriller, fantasy, stuff like that. The first book I have to share is Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. It's about this girl named Pip. She's a high school student, and the first book is about her uncovering this mystery in her town. And I'm not really sure what this one is. Pip is not a detective anymore. When someone she knows goes missing and the police won't do anything, Pip has no choice but to investigate. Very interesting. Okay, so this is about someone she knows. I'm actually really excited. I also love like true crime podcast stuff too, so I'm excited to like kind of see that aspect told in this book as well. Next book I have is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. This, from what I know, is kind of like a school with all of these like Shakespearean kids or whatever, or they all are students that are studying English and are all really into Shakespeare, and then a murder happens and they all try to like solve it, or they're like part of the investigation somehow. I think that's what this book's about, but I don't really remember. I've been wanting to read this book for so long. I've heard like obviously really great things about it. I love Shakespearean like stuff, like the tales and stuff. I don't know what's going on because I don't know any Shakespeare that well, but I do like reading the stories. The next mystery book I have is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This one is about this girl writes a negative review, like a 1-star review from this author, and this author like basically stalks her and like tries to kill her. Something along those lines. I've heard that the twists in this book are just so good. So I'm really intrigued because I'm like, if it's that good, I gotta figure out what happened. Also, I feel like as someone who does like have negative experiences with books, like authors should just not go on like forums like this sometimes, because I think you just don't want anyone bashing on your baby, and I get that. But I'm really intrigued by this book and it sounds really good. And the last mystery book I have is Misery by Stephen King. This one is also about like an author and a reader like parasocial relationship. This author gets kidnapped by their #1 fan, and the #1 fan is basically like, I need you to continue this series about my favorite character Misery, and I need you to write right now about her, blah 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 blah. I also want to give Stephen King another shot. I read Billy Summers by Stephen King and I didn't like absolutely love it. It was like aight to me, and I want to give him another chance. Oh, hold on, there's another book I just remembered. Let me go get it. I forgot about her. Ow! I stepped on something. I'm also planning on reading The Maid by Nita Prose. This is about a maid. She's a maid at this hotel. One of her guests dies and everyone thinks it's her. But it's obviously not. Who is the real killer? Me and one of my friends, we both got this book and we're gonna buddy read this book. So I am planning on reading The Maid, and I am excited to read about it. Now I'm gonna go into literary fiction slash like classics kind of, and the first book I want to read is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is like very similar to If We Were Villains, so I've heard, and this one's about like Greek mythology students, or like Greek mythology students, and then one of them dies and stuff happens. I don't know, but I love Greek mythology. I love it so much. So I'm excited to read this book because I also just like Greek mythology, and there's like a lot about that, and like I want to read it. Okay, next I have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I know I've said I've been wanting to read this for so long, and I still want to read it. I actually did start reading this book. I read to chapter 4 I think, but I do want to read this like very soon because I want to read more classics. One day I will get to her. One day I will read Jane Eyre, but I really do plan on trying to read this during the fall. We'll see if I get there. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis? I don't know. This book was like super like popular last year it was like the book of the month, or not book of the month, it was like the book of the year for Barnes and Noble, I think. It's like based in the 1950s, and this lady is a chemist, and she is like trying to break through the chemistry science thing for women. It's like historical fiction, but also a women's fiction. But I do want to read this because, like I said, it was the book of the year last year. I'm just curious. And also I found this at Goodwill, so I got it for like $2. So I was like, perfect. What a time to have this. I don't know, anything like school related or chemistry or English or like stuff like that where you like would go to school for, it just feels like fall vibes to me. I couldn't tell you why. Science and school equals fall to me. The last book I have for literary fiction is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is about like these two friends come together and they are doing a video game design together. They're like making a video game together, but like also there's more stuff happening, I think. Like I said, I always hear such good things about Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, and I just want to read it. And also I want to own it because this cover is so pretty and I love it so much, but I haven't gotten my hands on it yet. And I just want to read it. I just want to read it, okay? So thank you. I really don't have that many romances that I like in dire need of like reading for like the fall time. I only have like a couple that I'm like, I really want to read this during the fall. The first book is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This one is about this girl, she like goes to this small town. This book really does kind of remind me of Things We Never Got Over a little bit. Like she goes to this small town, she rents out this place from the grumpy person who's also the love interest. Like every Mariana Zapata book I've read so far, I've given 5 stars and I've absolutely loved them. So we'll see if it's a thing with all of those books or if it's just like her most popular. I don't know if this is like the most popular Mariana Zapata book, but I am like really excited to read this. I have been wanting to dig into another one. This is definitely, I think, a fall vibes kind of book. Also, like she's wearing plaid and a beanie and the, like, come on. Fall. It's giving fall. Next one I have is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I don't really know exactly what this book is about. It's a romance between these two people. And it's set in Ireland in the 2000s, early 2000s. That's all I know. I just hear nothing but good things about this series and I just want to know. Also, those books are thick. They're like thick. That's like 600 and something pages. I'm like, okay. For a romance, okay, sure girl. And the last one I have is the Mindfuck series. This one is about a serial killer and an FBI agent, but the serial killer is the girl and the FBI agent is the guy, and he is on her case. So he's literally trying to figure out who she, like, he doesn't know that she's a serial killer and he's like trying to like figure it out. Haha. So fun. But the rest I have for you are fantasy books, and I feel like fall is the epitome of fantasy time. Like fantasy books, fall like handshake. Literally the first one though that has been on like my list, like top list, and I just haven't gotten around to read it, and I've like literally I've been so excited to read this book and I just still haven't gotten to it, is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It's just like in a world set where there are ordinaries and elites, and elites have like powers, ordinaries don't have any powers obviously, and the king decided to like get rid of all of the ordinaries so that he just has a kingdom of elites. Well, our main girl is an ordinary pretending to be an elite, and she is going into this like trial, kind of like the Hunger Games-esque thing. There's another perspective, which is the prince, and his job is to literally like get rid of all the ordinaries. And like I said, I have had this book since January, I think. January or February, and I just haven't gotten around to reading it, but I want to read it soon, like super soon. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I don't know really what this one is about. It's like set in London, and like there's like all these dimensions, and this guy can travel between all of the dimensions. I don't really know what it's about actually. Oh, he has to like save the world or something. I wanted to read another V.E. Schwab book. I loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I just picked this one up and I was like, you know what? I like the cover, so let's read it. I don't know, okay? I plan on reading this soon, even though I don't know what it's about. That's like most of the books that I have. I'm like, I want to read this, but I don't know what it's about. I just hear good things. We will read her eventually. One day I'm gonna get to The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Every time I hear someone talk about The Priory of the Orange Tree, they just say, I know it's a long book, just read it, it's so good, you need to read it, blah blah blah. And I just like, I want to read it so bad, but the size of this thing is so intimidating. I'm reading the Bible at this point. Like I could smack the shit out of somebody and they would be knocked out for weeks. I have been wanting to read this for so long. Also, dragons just give big like fall vibes. Duh. My mom has been like, are you gonna read that or can I read it now? And I'm like, if you wanted to read it, you can. It's okay. I don't know when the heck I'm gonna pick this up. Eventually. I'll pick it up eventually. Next book I have is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This also gives big like fall energy because it's like kind of like scholarly and I don't know, the magic's like fun. I don't really remember how the magic system of this one works. I've been wanting to read something from R.F. Kuang for a while now. It was either this one or the Poppy Wars, and this one just sounded a little less intimidating than the Poppy Wars, so I am excited to read this. But I also heard this is kind of hard to read. Like if your brain is like not working that day, you probably shouldn't read this because then you're gonna not know what's happening. I gotta make sure I have a scholarly brain that day, so we will see when I get to that. The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This also has been on my radar for so long now. This one is about if the Library of Alexandria never disappeared or like sunken or something like that. The Society of Alexandria, these people are competing to get into this society. I think that's it. Very, like I said, Hunger Games-esque, fantasy, fun. I don't know. I am going to read this pretty soon. Last book I have is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second book of the Red Rising. I always want to call it Red Wing because I read Fourth Wing and Red Rising at the same time. So I always want to call it Red Wing. It's not. It's Red Rising. This is the second book of the Red Rising series. I'm curious where the story is going to go. I feel like people either give this like 4 to 5 stars, even like 6 stars, broke their scale kind of thing. So I just hear nothing but amazing things about this series and I do want to continue it. So Golden Sun is the next book and I do plan on reading it eventually. If I'm smart enough. Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it so much.